I spent an entire week searching hard for resources online to show you that Donald Trump is not who you think he is. I also spent 3 days editing and creating this video to visually present this truth to you. Have you ever wondered what happens behind the closed doors of politics? What secrets lie in the shadows of power? Is it possible that some stories are so chilling they blur the line between reality and fiction? In this video, we'll explore 3 true stories related to Donald Trump. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Let's begin. I never thought my life would take such a strange turn. My name is Mark, and I was just an ordinary policy advisor in Washington, D.C. I'd been working in politics for a while, but things took a dark turn when I started noticing strange behavior from Trump. It began with a subtle feeling I couldn't shake. One day, during a meeting in the Oval Office, I saw something odd in his eyes. It was more than stress or fatigue. It felt like a crack in his persona, revealing something darker beneath. At first I dismissed it, but the feeling lingered. A few weeks later, during a one-on-one meeting, Trump mentioned characters he kept close to him. He said, "Sometimes you have to protect the characters. They have their own needs." The words haunted me, but I brushed it off as just another odd comment. Then I started hearing whispers among the staff. One day, a colleague named Lisa pulled me aside. "Have you noticed anything weird?" she asked. I nodded cautiously, and she leaned in. "There are rumors that he has multiple personalities. Some of them are really dark." At first, I thought it was just gossip, but I couldn't ignore the feeling that something was off. Then, during a late-night meeting, I saw something terrifying. Trump flew into a rage over a minor issue, slamming his fist on the table. "These people think they can walk all over me." But then, his mood switched in an instant. He smirked and calmly said, "But I always win." It was like 2 people inhabited his body. A week later, I overheard a conversation between Trump and a close advisor. They were discussing a plan, and the advisor said, "We need to keep the dark character happy. Otherwise, we might see some bloodshed." The word bloodshed sent a chill down my spine. As I dug deeper, I started hearing about rituals, ways to appease these characters. The more I uncovered, the more danger I realized I was in. One night, a black SUV followed me as I drove home. I managed to lose it, but the next day, I received a chilling text message: "Stop digging, or you'll regret it." I confided in Lisa, and she was visibly shaken by what I told her. "You don't know who you're dealing with," she warned. I knew I was in too deep, but felt I had no choice but to keep digging. Eventually, I came face to face with one of Trump's characters. It was during a strategy meeting when a man named Roger walked in. His cold stare unnerved me. After the meeting, he approached and said, "You should watch what you say, Mark." Not everyone appreciates curiosity. I realized then that I was being watched, and I had become a target. One night, I noticed a figure standing across from my apartment, watching. The next day, I decided to act. I gathered all the evidence I had collected and prepared to meet with a trusted senator. But when I arrived at the senator's office, something felt wrong. The receptionist's smile seemed off, and I sensed the lie in her voice when she said, "The senator isn't in right now." I turned to see Roger standing behind me, flanked by 2 security guards. "Mark, we need to talk," he said, his smile cold. Panic gripped me. I bolted for the exit, the guards close behind. I ran through the streets, dodging pedestrians and cars, and finally escaped into a subway station. I knew I had to leave DC. I packed that night and drove away, feeling both fear and relief. As I left the city, I couldn't stop thinking about the characters Trump had spoken of and the bloodshed they craved. The depths of his power and the darkness I had glimpsed would haunt me forever. But one thing was clear. Some people would do anything to keep their grip on power, no matter the cost. I never thought I'd have to share this, but here I am, trying to make sense of everything that happened. It all started a couple of months ago when my friends and I decided to explore the dark web out of curiosity. My friend Matt knew how to navigate it, so he walked us through downloading Tor and accessing forums. At first, it was just shady stuff like drugs and counterfeit money. But then Matt found something disturbing. A chat room with people talking about horrific things involving young kids. As we read more, it became clear that these people were involved in something awful. I wanted to leave, but Matt was determined to dig deeper, saying these people needed to be stopped. We clicked through some links and found a folder full of videos. One video showed a grainy security camera-like recording of a man with a child in a cold, windowless room. I couldn't watch, but I heard the sounds. It was the worst thing I've ever experienced. Matt finally shut it off, but he wasn't done. He was determined to find out who was behind it. Matt kept digging and found an email address buried deep in the site. He sent a message, hoping to gather more information to turn over to the authorities. A few days later, we got a response. "Who are you?" It didn't stop there. The messages kept coming, and they knew we had been watching. They even sent us our IP addresses and threatened to expose us. Despite the warnings, Matt kept going. He was convinced he could trace the people behind the videos. To our shock, he managed to trace the emails back to an IP address. We thought it would lead to a hacker or someone overseas, but instead, it led to someone we never expected, Donald Trump. At first, I couldn't believe it. Trump? The former president? It sounded insane, but Matt showed me the evidence, and it all pointed to him. The videos, the messages, everything led back to Trump. We freaked out. How could we expose someone so powerful? We didn't have enough proof, and even if we did, who would believe us? Since then, Matt has disappeared. I haven't spoken to him in weeks, and I don't know if he's hiding or if something happened to him. I've been receiving strange phone calls from blocked numbers, and I've noticed people watching my house. I tried to erase everything from my computer, but I know it's too late. They know who I am. I haven't been able to sleep since all of this started. Whenever I close my eyes, I see that room and hear the sounds from the video. I wonder how deep this goes and how many other people might be involved. I'm terrified and regret ever going to the dark web. I don't know if sharing this will make things better, but I need to get it off my chest. I've been a taxi driver in New York for nearly 15 years, and I've seen a lot over the years, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened one regular Thursday night. A simple fare that changed everything. I was driving down Fifth Avenue when a man flagged me down. He looked nervous and disheveled, but I picked him up anyway. He gave me an address in Midtown, and for a while, we drove in silence. Then, he leaned forward and asked, "You ever hear about what Trump's really up to?" I brushed it off at first, laughing. "Man, I've heard every crazy theory about that guy. What's this one?" But his response shook me. He's running experiments on people. Mind control. You don't see it on TV or the news, but it's happening. I should know. I used to work for him. I didn't kick him out. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was the late hour, but I asked him to explain. He said he was a doctor who used to work on special projects for Trump. The goal? Complete control over people's minds to manipulate the public's thoughts, votes, and lives. He said they used psychological torture, drugs, and hypnosis on vulnerable people. Runaways, the homeless, immigrants. They'd break these people down and then rebuild them under Trump's control. I didn't know what to say. It sounded crazy, but the way he spoke made it feel real. He had specific details that didn't sound made up. So, I asked him why he was telling me this. He said he had left the project because he couldn't stand what they were doing anymore. But now they were after him. They don't let anyone leave without paying a price, he said. What kind of price? I asked, immediately regretting the question. He said he'd been on the run for weeks, always being followed. He claimed that now that I had heard what he knew, they'd come after me too. I didn't take it seriously at first, until I noticed a black SUV following us. I tried to shake it off, thinking it was just a coincidence, but it didn't stop. Every turn I made, the SUV followed. The man noticed my panic. "They've found me," he said. My heart was racing, but I kept driving, trying to lose the SUV. The man told me they'd kill me for knowing what he had told me. I still wanted to believe it was just paranoia, but the SUV was still on our tail. I asked him if there was anywhere safe to go, and he told me to leave the country. It's the only way. They've got too much power here. Eventually, we managed to lose the SUV, but I knew it wasn't over. When I dropped him off at a rundown motel, he handed me a wad of cash, way more than the fare, and looked me in the eyes. "Get out while you can," he said, before disappearing into the shadows. I should have gone home and forgotten about the whole thing, but I couldn't. For the next few days, I saw black SUVs everywhere, felt like I was being watched constantly. Then things got worse. I started getting strange phone calls, silence on the other end. My apartment was broken into, but nothing was stolen. It was clear someone had been there, and I knew it was them. That's when I realized I had to leave. I packed my bags, emptied my savings, and booked a one-way ticket out of the country. I don't know where I'm going yet, just somewhere far away, somewhere they can't find me. So, yeah, that's my story. I don't know if anyone will believe it, but I had to get it out before I disappear for good. If you're reading this, maybe you'll be smarter than I was. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.